the day the stars wept. The morning sun rose over New like it did every day. The light touched the green fields where farmers worked. Children ran to school with bags on their backs. Mothers called out to them to be careful. Fathers kissed their wives goodbye before going to work. It was a normal day on this peaceful human colony world. New was home to 2.3 million people. They had built this world with their own hands. They had turned empty land into farms and cities. They had created schools and hospitals. They had made a home far from Earth, and they were proud of it. Colonel Wu stood near the main city's military base. He was there for a simple inspection, nothing important. He watched the people walking on the streets. A little girl with 2 braids ran past him, laughing. An old man sold fruits from a small cart. Life was simple here. Life was good. Wu did not know that in a few hours, all of this would be gone. Far away in space, 12 alien species sat together in a great hall. They called themselves the Galaxy Council. They were old races. They had lived among the stars for thousands of years. They believed they knew what was best for the galaxy. High Arbiter stood at the center of the hall. He was tall and thin, with skin and eyes that showed no warmth. He looked at the other council members and spoke. "Humanity spreads too fast," he said. "In just 300 years they have taken dozens of worlds. They build, they grow, they do not stop. If we do not act now, they will become a threat to us all." Ambassador raised his hand. "Perhaps we should talk to them first. They have shown no signs of wanting war." Laughed, it was a cold sound. "Talk. We do not talk to animals. We train them. We show them their place." He looked around the room. "I propose we send a message, a strong message, one they will never forget." The vote was quick. Most council members agreed, only voted against it, but his voice did not matter. Within hours, the collective fleet moved toward New. Hundreds of warships, thousands of weapons, all pointed at a world of farmers and children. On New, Colonel Wu felt something strange. The birds had stopped singing. He looked up at the sky. At first he saw nothing. Then slowly dark shapes appeared, ships, many ships, more than he had ever seen. His communicator beeped. A young soldier's voice came through, shaking with fear. "Colonel, unknown fleet in orbit. They are not responding to our messages." Wu's blood went cold. "Sound the alarm. Get everyone to the shelters now." But there was no time. The first blast hit the city center. The explosion was so bright that Wu had to cover his eyes. When he looked again, half the city was gone, just gone. Where buildings once stood, there was only fire and smoke. The screaming started. People ran in every direction. Parents grabbed their children. Old people fell and could not get up. The ground shook again and again as more blasts came down from the sky. Wu ran toward the shelters, shouting orders, but he knew it was useless. The shelters were made for storms, not for this, not for war. He saw the little girl with 2 braids. She stood in the middle of the street, crying, looking for her mother. Wu grabbed her and ran. Behind him, another blast turned the street into fire. The attack lasted for 6 hours. 6 hours of death. 6 hours of fire falling from the sky. The council ships moved in perfect formation, destroying everything below them. They hit the schools. They hit the hospitals. They hit the farms where people tried to hide. When it was over, New was silent. Wu found a cargo ship at the edge of the city. It was damaged but could still fly. He gathered everyone he could find. 200 people, that was all. 200 out of 2.3 million. The little girl was with them. She had stopped crying. She just stared at nothing with empty eyes. As the ship lifted off, Wu looked down at what remained of New. The green fields were black. The cities were dust. Everything they had built was destroyed. He turned away and made a promise in his heart. Someone would pay for this. Hours later, High Arbiter sent a message to all human worlds. His face appeared on every screen. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Let this serve as correction," he said. Humanity has grown too bold. You have forgotten your place in the galaxy. New is a reminder, stop your expansion, accept your position. Do this and there will be no more death. He paused and smiled slightly. We do not wish for war, we only wish for you to understand. You are young, we are old. You will listen to us or you will face more correction. The message ended. Across human space, people watched in shock. They saw the images from New, they saw the bodies, they saw the burned land, they heard cold words. On the great warship UES Sovereignty, General received the news. He was a man of 50 years with hair and a face made of stone. He had fought in many battles. He had seen death before, but nothing like this. His officers stood around him, waiting for orders. Some were crying. Some were shaking with anger. All were looking at their general. Watched message again. Then again. His face showed nothing, but his hands were closed so tight that his knuckles turned white. Sir, Admiral Park said quietly, "What do we do?" Did not answer immediately. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. Somewhere out there, the council thought they had won. They thought humanity would bow down. They thought wrong. "Assemble every general," said. His voice was soft but carried a weight that made everyone listen. "Every admiral, every commander, bring them to Earth, all of them." "Sir, that will take days." "Then start now." He turned to face his officers. His eyes were not angry. They were something worse. They were empty. "They want to teach us our place. They want us to be afraid." He paused. "Instead, they have made the worst mistake in their long history." "What mistake, sir?" a young officer asked. "Looked at the image of New burning. They have reminded us what we are, what we have always been, when we need to be." He walked toward the door. Before leaving, he stopped and said one more thing. "The council thinks they know war. They think they understand what humans can do." His voice dropped to a whisper. "They are about to learn." The door closed behind him. In the cargo ship fleeing New, Colonel Wu held the little girl as she finally fell asleep. Around him, the survivors sat in silence. Some prayed. Some stared at nothing. All of them carried the same weight in their hearts. Outside the small window, the stars seemed dimmer than before, as if they too were mourning, as if the whole galaxy knew that something terrible had happened. And something more terrible was about to begin. The Council of Wrath. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, there was a place that did not exist on any map. The military called it the Tomb. It was built to survive anything: bombs, invasion, the end of the world. For 200 years, no one had used it. Now, for the first time, the tomb was full. 47 generals and admirals sat around a massive stone table. They had come from every corner of human space. Some had traveled for days without sleep. They wore their uniforms, they wore their medals, but their faces showed something that uniforms and medals could not hide: pain, anger, grief. General stood at the head of the table. His face was calm, but everyone could feel the weight of his presence. He looked at each person in the room. These were the best military minds humanity had. These were the people who would decide what happened next. "You all know why we are here," said. "Before we begin, Colonel Wu will show us what happened at New. I want everyone to see. I want everyone to understand." Colonel Wu stepped forward. His uniform was still dirty from the escape. He had not slept in 3 days. His hands shook slightly as he activated the screen. "I was on the ground when the attack began," he said. His voice was rough. "What you are about to see is real. This is not made up. This is what they did to us." The screen came to life. The footage showed New before the attack. Children playing in a park. People shopping at a market. A wedding party walking down the street, the bride smiling in her white dress. Then the sky turned dark. The first blast hit. The camera shook. People started running. The sound of screaming filled the room. One shot showed a mother holding her 2 children trying to find shelter. A moment later, fire consumed them. Admiral Park closed her eyes. Her jaw tightened. The footage continued. Schools burning, hospitals collapsing, people running with nowhere to run. The council ships moving overhead like metal gods, raining death on everything below. One clip showed an old man standing in front of his small shop. He did not run. He just stood there, watching the sky, waiting for death. It came quickly. Another clip showed bodies. So many bodies in the streets, in the fields, everywhere. When the footage ended, the room was silent. Some of the generals were crying. They did not try to hide it. These were hard men and women who had spent their lives preparing for war, but nothing had prepared them for this. Lieutenant sat in the corner. She was young, only 28, but she was one of the best intelligence officers in the fleet. Her face was white. Her hands gripped the edge of her seat. She had seen something in the footage, something that broke her. "That woman," she whispered, "the one with the 2 children." Wu looked at her. "Did you know her?" Nodded slowly. "That was my mother, those were my brothers." The room went even more silent. Admiral Park reached over and put her hand on the young woman's shoulder. Did not cry. She was past crying. Her eyes were dry and hard like stone. General waited a moment, then he spoke. 2.3 million people, civilians, farmers, teachers, children. His voice was quiet but clear. The Galaxy Council did this, not in war, not in battle. They did this because they wanted to teach us a lesson. He walked around the table slowly. For 300 years, humanity has fought by their rules. We signed their treaties. We followed their laws. We fought civilized wars with rules of engagement and protected zones. We did everything they told us to do. He stopped and looked at the frozen image on the screen. A child's toy, burned and broken, lying in the ashes. And they did this anyway. Admiral Park stood up. She was a woman of 45, with short black hair and eyes that could cut through steel. She was known across the fleet for her skill and her coldness in battle. "General," she said, "what are our options?" Another general, an older man named Ho, raised his hand. "We should send diplomats, make them understand this was wrong. The other species in the council might support us. Ambassador voted against the attack. Maybe." "Maybe nothing," Admiral Park interrupted. "They murdered millions and called it correction. They do not see us as equals, they see us as animals. You cannot negotiate with someone who thinks you are less than them." "But total war?" another officer asked. "The Council has 12 species. Their combined fleet is larger than ours. Their technology is older, more advanced. We could lose everything." General held up his hand. The room went quiet. "You speak of what we could lose," he said. "Let me tell you what we have already lost. We have lost our safety. We have lost our peace. We have lost 2.3 million of our people." He paused. "And we have lost the belief that if we follow the rules, we will be treated fairly." He looked at each officer one by one. "They made this choice, not us. They decided that human lives mean nothing. They decided that they can burn our worlds and face no consequence. If we do nothing now, they will do it again, and again, until there are no humans left." Lieutenant stood up. Her voice was steady, but there was ice in it. "I have studied the Council species for 10 years. They are old, they are powerful, but they have not fought a real war in over 1,000 years. Their conflicts have rules, limits, protected zones." She looked around the room. "They have forgotten what war truly is." "And what is war truly?" General Ho asked. His eyes were cold. "War is pain. War is sacrifice. War is doing whatever is necessary to survive and win. They think war is a game with rules. We will show them it is not." Admiral Park nodded. "The young lieutenant is right. The Council is soft. They rely on fear and reputation. They have never faced an enemy who refuses to give up, an enemy who fights without limits." "Without limits?" Ho looked worried. "You mean abandon the rules of war, attack civilians, become like them?" "No," General said firmly. "We will never become like them. We will not murder children. We will not burn innocent worlds, but we will no longer follow their rules either. We will fight our way, the human way. He walked to the center of the room. The Council believes in civilized war, small conflicts, limited damage, quick surrenders. They do not understand total war. They do not understand a species that will fight to the last person, that will sacrifice everything for victory. His voice rose slightly. They wanted to teach us our place. Instead, they have freed us from their rules. He turned to face the screen, where the image of burning news still glowed. I am calling for a vote. Total war against the Galaxy Council. No negotiation. No surrender. We fight until they are defeated or we are destroyed. There is no middle ground. One by one, the officers voted. Admiral Park, war. General Ho hesitated then, war. Colonel Wu, war. Lieutenant, war. Around the table the votes came. 47 voices, 47 times the same word. War. When it was done, General nodded slowly. Then it is decided. From this moment, humanity is at war with the Galaxy Council. This will not be a limited conflict. This will not be a quick battle. This will be a war they will remember for 1,000 years. He looked at the images of New One last time. They wanted monsters, he said quietly. Now they will meet them. The meeting lasted many more hours. Plans were made. Orders were given. Ships were called back from distant posts. Factories were told to stop making civilian goods and start making weapons. As the officers left the tomb, Admiral Park walked beside General. "Do you think we can win?" she asked quietly. Did not answer for a long moment. Then he said, "The Council has more ships, more worlds, more resources. On paper, we cannot win." "Then why fight?" He stopped and looked at her. "Because there are some things worse than losing, living on our knees, waiting for them to burn another world whenever they want. That is worse." He started walking again. "And besides, they have made one mistake they do not even know about." "What mistake?" "They have united humanity, every human in every colony on every world. They are all angry, they are all ready to fight. The Council rules through fear. We will fight through fury, and fury, Admiral, is something they have never faced before." He walked into the darkness of the tunnel. "Let them think they have won. Let them believe we are afraid. When we are ready, we will show them what their correction has created." In the shadows of the tomb, humanity's answer to the massacre was taking shape, and it would shake the stars. The silent preparations. 3 months passed after New. The galaxy watched and waited. The Council expected anger. They expected threats. They expected humans to do something foolish and quick. Instead, they got silence. Human expansion stopped completely. Their ships stayed close to their worlds. Their communications went quiet. No angry messages, no demands for justice, just silence. High Arbiter sat in his great chair on the Council. He looked out the window at the peaceful city below. Everything was calm. Everything was as it should be. "The correction worked," he said to Commander, who stood beside him. "The humans have learned their place." Commander was not so sure. He was a military officer. He had spent his life studying enemies. Something about this silence felt wrong to him. "They are too quiet," he said. "My scouts report strange activity in their asteroid fields, ships moving at night, unusual energy readings, but we cannot get close enough to see what they are doing." Waved his hand dismissively. "They are probably building shelters, hiding like scared animals. Let them. As long as they stay in their place, I do not care what they do." "And if they are building weapons?" Laughed. "Weapons to fight us. The collective fleet is 10 times the size of their navy. Our ships are more advanced. Our technology is thousands of years older. What could they possibly build that would threaten us?" Said nothing, but in his chest he felt a cold weight that would not go away. Far across the galaxy, in an asteroid field that appeared on no map, The truth of human silence was being built. Admiral Park stood on the command deck of a massive construction station. Through the windows, she could see hundreds of ships being assembled, but these were not normal ships. They were ugly, brutal, covered in weapons that stuck out like teeth. An engineer named walked up to her with a, "Admiral, the new class of battleships is ready for testing. We have removed all the safety systems you marked." Park looked at the escape pods. Removed. Emergency surrender beacons. Removed. The energy limiters on the main cannons. Removed. The guns can now fire at full power. Hesitated. "Admiral, without limiters, the cannons might burn out after extended use, and without escape pods if a ship is destroyed." "I know," Park said quietly. "That is the point." Looked confused. "I do not understand." Park turned to face him. "The Council fights with rules. If a ship is badly damaged, the crew escapes in pods and is rescued. If a battle is lost, they surrender and negotiate. They have fought this way for so long that they cannot imagine fighting any other way." She pointed at the new ships. "These ships have no escape, no surrender. When our crews board these vessels, they know they will either win or die. There is no middle option." Her eyes were hard. "That is how humans used to fight before we learned their civilized rules. Now we remember." Nodded slowly. He understood now. The ships were not just weapons. They were a message, a promise. We will not stop. In another part of human space, Colonel Wu led a team of 20 soldiers through the darkness of an enemy outpost. This was a small council station, far from any major fleet. It watched human borders and reported back to the council. Not anymore. The attack was fast and silent. Wu and his team moved like shadows. They did not use guns. Guns made noise. They used knives and hands. Within 10 minutes, every council officer on the station was dead. "Search everything," Wu ordered. "Find their communication codes, their fleet positions, everything." A young soldier named Min looked at the bodies on the floor. "Sir, should we not take prisoners? For information." Wu turned to look at him. His face was empty of emotion. Nu had 2.3 million people. How many prisoners did the council take? Min said nothing. "Find the codes," Wu said. "Leave no evidence we were here." They found what they needed: communication codes, fleet patrol schedules, locations of military bases, everything humanity needed to plan their attack. Before leaving, Wu stood in the command room alone. He looked at a screen showing the council symbol, the same symbol that had appeared over Nu as it burned. "You thought you were teaching us," he whispered. "You were just teaching yourselves to die." On Earth, Lieutenant worked day and night in the intelligence center. Her desk was covered with files and screens showing information about the council species. She had not slept properly in weeks. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her mother holding her brothers. She saw the fire coming down. So she did not sleep, she worked. "What are you looking for?" General asked one night when he found her still at her desk. "Weakness," she replied without looking up. "Every species has one. I am finding theirs." Sat down across from her. "And what have you found?" Finally looked up. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her mind was sharp as ever. "They are afraid," she said. "Not of us. Not yet, but they are afraid of each other. The 12 species in the council do not trust one another. They stay together because they fear being alone, because together they are strong. So we do not attack the council as one enemy. We attack them as 12 separate enemies. We make them doubt each other. We make them fear that their allies will abandon them." She pulled up images on her screen. 3 of the species have old conflicts with each other. 2 nearly went to war just 50 years ago. The council holds them together, but the hate is still there. Nodded slowly. "You want to break them apart." "I want to make them remember why they did not trust each other in the first place." On a training ground on Mars, Sergeant Jin Ho stood before a group of 1,000 new recruits. They were not soldiers. Not yet. They were farmers, teachers, factory workers, people who had never held a weapon in their lives. But they had all seen the images from New. They had all felt the rage. "You are here because you want revenge," Jin Ho shouted. "That is good. Anger is fuel, but fuel without direction just burns everything, including you." He walked along the line of recruits, looking at each face. "I will teach you to control that fire. I will teach you to aim it. When we are done, you will not just be angry people with guns. You will be weapons that the Council has never seen before." A young woman raised her hand. "Sergeant, they say the Council has better technology, better ships. How can we win?" Jin Ho smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Better technology, yes. Better ships, yes. But they do not have something we have." "What is that?" "They do not have people who are willing to die for their cause. Their soldiers fight because they are told to. Our soldiers fight because they watch their families burn." He looked at the sky. "Technology can be beaten. Ships can be destroyed. But you cannot defeat an enemy who would rather die than surrender. The Council has never faced such an enemy. They are about to." Weeks passed. Ships were built. Soldiers were trained. Codes were stolen. Plans were made. Throughout it all, the Council saw nothing. They believed the silence meant surrender. They believed their correction had worked. High Arbiter even gave a speech celebrating the peace that had been achieved. "Humanity has learned," he said. "They understand now that we are their superiors. There will be no war, only obedience." Commander watched the speech with a heavy heart. He had tried to warn them. He had showed them the strange activity in human space, but no one listened. They would listen soon. In the tomb on Earth, General reviewed the final plans. Every detail was in place. Every ship was ready. Every soldier knew their role. Admiral Park stood beside him. "We are ready, General, just give the word." Looked at the map showing 47 Council military installations. In 3 days, all of them would burn. "They killed 2.3 million of our people to send a message," he said. "Our message will be louder." He picked up a pen and signed the order. Operation Reckoning was approved. Across human space, ships began to move, silently, secretly, like wolves in the night. The Council's long peace was about to end, and the silence that had confused them for 3 months was about to become the loudest roar the galaxy had ever heard. The storm breaks. The Council's primary shipyard floated in the darkness of space. It was the largest military installation in the galaxy. Thousands of ships were built here every year. Millions of soldiers trained within its walls. It was the heart of Council military power. Commander was there that morning, inspecting the battleships. He walked along the metal floors, checking systems, reviewing reports. Everything was normal. Everything was calm. Then the alarm started screaming. "What is happening?" shouted at a frightened technician. "Ships, human ships, they just appeared out of nowhere, hundreds of them." Ran to the command center. Through the windows, he saw something that made his blood freeze. Human vessels surrounded the shipyard, but these were not the ships he knew. These were different, ugly, covered in weapons. They looked like they had been built for one purpose only: destruction. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance. She looked at the shipyard through cold eyes. 3 months of preparation, 3 months of silence. It all came down to this moment. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies." Her communications officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Park leaned forward and spoke clearly. "Attention, Council forces. This is Admiral Park of the United Earth Fleet. 3 months ago, you burned New. You killed 2.3 million of our people. You called it correction." She paused. "We call it murder. And now you will learn what correction truly means." She cut the channel and turned to her weapons officer. "Fire everything." The space around the shipyard lit up with death. Human ships unleashed weapons that the Council had banned centuries ago. Plasma that burned through shields, missiles that split into 100 smaller bombs, cannons that could cut a battleship in half. Commander tried to organize a defense, but there was no time. Human ships did not stop firing. They did not pause. They did not call for surrender. They simply destroyed. Within 1 hour, the greatest shipyard in the galaxy was burning metal floating in the void. And this was just the beginning. Across the galaxy at 47 different locations, the same scene played out. Human fleets appeared without warning. Council bases that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to ash. Military stations, weapon factories, training centers, all of them fell. High Arbiter received the reports in his throne room. His face went pale. His hands shook. "How?" he whispered. "How did they get our locations? How did they know our patrol schedules?" An aide looked at the floor. "High Arbiter, we believe they stole our communication codes. They have been watching us, planning for months." Stood up suddenly. "Then send our fleets, destroy them. We have more ships, more soldiers." "We cannot coordinate, High Arbiter. Our communication networks are compromised. The fleets cannot receive clear orders. Each commander is fighting alone." Felt the world spinning around him. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. On the ground of a council world called, Colonel Wu led his special forces through enemy lines. Their mission was simple: liberate the human prisoners held in council labor camps. The council had captured humans after new, those who survived the initial attack, those who were in space at the time. They had been brought here and forced to work in terrible conditions. Wu's team moved through the camp's defenses like ghosts. Guards fell before they could raise an alarm. Doors were blasted open. Walls were broken down. When they reached the prisoners, Wu felt his rage become something deeper, something colder. The humans were skin and bones. Their eyes were hollow. Many had injuries that had never been treated. Some were too weak to stand. A young woman looked up at Wu. Her face was thin and tired, but there was still a spark in her eyes. "You came," she whispered. "We thought everyone had forgotten us." Wu knelt beside her. "We never forgot, we never will." He helped her to her feet and looked at his soldiers. "Get them to the ships. Anyone who can walk, help those who cannot. We leave no one behind." As they moved through the camp, one of his soldiers found something in a storage room. Files, records, documents showing what had been done to the prisoners, the experiments, the torture, the deaths. Wu looked at the files for a long moment. His face showed nothing. But inside, something that had been human was dying. Something else was taking its place. "Burn this place to the ground," he said quietly. "Leave nothing." On another front, Sergeant Jin Ho and his unit found themselves trapped. Their landing craft had been shot down. They were surrounded by council soldiers on all sides. "Sir," a young soldier shouted, "we cannot hold this position. They have too many." Jin Ho looked at the enemy forces closing in. He counted maybe 300 council soldiers. His unit had 32. The math was not good. But math had never stopped humans before. "Listen to me," Jin Ho said calmly. "We have two choices: surrender and hope they treat us well, or fight and take as many of them with us as we can." He checked his weapon. "I know which choice I am making. Anyone who wants to surrender can try. I will not blame you." No one moved toward surrender. Jin Ho smiled. "Good. Then let us show these council soldiers what humans are made of." The battle lasted 6 hours. Jin Ho's unit fought from building to building, from room to room. They set traps. They used the terrain. They did everything wrong according to council military rules. And it worked. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found Jin Ho sitting against a wall, bleeding from a dozen wounds. Around him lay the bodies of over 200 enemy soldiers. His unit had lost 18. but they had held their ground. "Sergeant," the reinforcement commander said in shock, "how did you survive?" Jin Ho looked up with tired eyes. "We did not come to survive. We came to win. Survival is just a bonus." He passed out before he could say anything else. Far from the fighting, Ambassador sat in his chambers, watching the reports come in. He had warned the council. He had voted against the attack on Nu. No one had listened. Now he watched as everything fell apart. A message appeared on his screen. A human frequency. He hesitated, then opened it. Lieutenant's face appeared. She looked younger than he expected, but her eyes were old and hard. "Ambassador," she said, "we know you voted against Nu. We know you tried to stop it." Nodded slowly. "I did, but my voice was not enough. We are not here to destroy everyone. We are here to destroy those who hurt us. If you want to talk about ending this war, we will listen." Felt hope for the first time in months. "Then let us talk. Let us find a way to peace." His expression did not change. "We will negotiate when High Arbiter faces justice, when those responsible for Nu are punished, not before. The High Arbiter will never agree to that. Then the war continues until he has no choice." The screen went dark, sat in silence. He understood now. The humans were not fighting for conquest. They were not fighting for power. They were fighting for something far more dangerous. They were fighting for justice, and people who fight for justice do not stop. Back on the UES Vengeance, Admiral Park received word that all 47 primary targets had been destroyed. The first phase was complete. Human losses were heavy, but the Council had lost far more. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "you have a message from General." Park opened the channel. His face appeared on screen. Behind him, she could see the command center on Earth buzzing with activity. "Excellent work," Admiral said. "Phase 1 is complete. The Council is in chaos. Now begins Phase 2. "What are your orders, General?" His eyes were steady. "We push forward. We take their military bases one by one. We move toward their core worlds. We do not stop until they surrender or are destroyed." Park nodded. "And the civilians?" "We do not harm them. We are not the Council. We do not burn worlds for messages. We fight soldiers. We destroy weapons." He paused. "But make no mistake, Admiral. We will win this war whatever the cost." Park looked out the window at the burning remains of the shipyard. 3 months ago, she had been an admiral who followed rules, who believed in civilized warfare. Nu had changed that. Now she was something else. Something the Council had created when they killed 2.3 million innocent people. She was vengeance given form, and she would not stop until the debt was paid. "Understood, General," she said. "The fleet will move forward immediately." She cut the channel and turned to her crew. "You heard him. Set course for the next target. The Council wanted to teach humanity a lesson." She sat down in her command chair. Class is now in session. The Long March. 6 months of war changed the galaxy forever. The humans did not fight like the Council expected. They did not follow the old rules. They did not pause between battles. They did not negotiate. They simply moved forward, taking system after system, destroying military base after military base. And they never stopped. General stood in his command center on Earth, watching the war map update in real time. Red markers showed Council positions. Blue markers showed human forces. 6 months ago, the blue had been a small cluster in one corner of the map. Now it spread across a third of Council space. "Sir," an aide reported, "Admiral Park's fleet has taken the system. All military targets destroyed. Civilian population unharmed." Nodded. "What about Council reinforcements?" "They tried to send a fleet from their eastern territories, but 3 of the Council species refused to contribute ships." "Which 3? And the. They say they did not agree with the new attack. They do not want to fight a war they believe was wrong." allowed himself a small smile. Lieutenant's work was paying off. She had spent months sending targeted messages to different council species, reminding them of old conflicts, showing them evidence that High Arbiter had not consulted them before the massacre, making them question why they should die for his mistake. The council was breaking apart. In the system, High Arbiter paced his throne room like a trapped animal. His advisors watched him with worried eyes. None of them wanted to speak. None of them had good news. "How is this possible?" shouted. "We have more ships, more soldiers, more everything." Commander stepped forward. He had escaped the shipyard attack, but barely. Half his face was burned. His left arm was gone, replaced by a mechanical limb. "High Arbiter," he said carefully. "We have more numbers, but numbers mean nothing if we cannot use them." "What do you mean?" "Our forces are not unified. Each species fights separately. Some are not fighting at all. They have pulled back their entire fleet. They refuse to send more soldiers. Even the loyal species fight poorly because they do not believe in this war." His eyes widened with anger. "Do not believe. I am the High Arbiter. My word is law." "Your word caused this war," said quietly. "You attacked Nu without consulting the full council. You called it correction. Now millions are dead and we are losing." For a moment looked like he might attack, then his shoulders fell. The fight went out of him. "What do we do?" he asked. His voice was small now, like a child. Looked at the war map. Blue markers were getting closer every day. "We fight. We try to hold them at the outer systems, and we hope they make a mistake." "And if they do not make a mistake?" Did not answer. He did not need to. On the front lines, Admiral Park led her fleet toward another council stronghold. She had not slept more than 3 hours a night in 6 months. Her hair had gone. Lines had appeared on her face that were not there before. But her eyes were as sharp as ever. "Admiral," her navigator reported, "we are approaching the checkpoint. Scanners show a civilian evacuation convoy leaving the system." Park looked at the scanner. Dozens of transport ships, filled with council civilians, families, children trying to escape the war. Her weapons officer looked at her. "Admiral, orders." Park was silent for a long moment. She thought about Nu, about the children who had no chance to escape, about the families who burned because High Arbiter wanted to send a message. She could destroy this convoy. It would be easy. It would feel good. But that was not why she was fighting. "Let them pass," she said. "Admiral." "You heard me. Open a corridor. Let the civilian ships through." Her crew looked confused. The weapons officer spoke carefully. "Admiral, with respect, they would not do the same for us." "I know," Park said. "That is the point. We are not them. We kill soldiers. We destroy weapons. We do not murder children." She sat back in her chair. "Let them go, then continue to the military base and destroy it." The crew followed orders. The civilian convoy passed through safely. Some of the council families on those ships would later tell others what happened, how the human fleet could have killed them but chose not to. That story spread across council space. It confused people. The humans were supposed to be monsters, had said so, but monsters do not let children escape. Lieutenant made sure every council world heard the story. She broadcast it alongside images of Nu. The message was clear. Look at what they did to our children. Look at what we did not do to theirs. Who are the real monsters? The psychological war was as important as the military one, and humanity was winning both. On a battlefield far from the main fleets, Sergeant Jin Ho had recovered from his wounds. The doctors had wanted him to rest more. He refused. There was too much to do. His new unit was half veterans, half new recruits. He trained them the same way he had been trained. Hard, brutal, honest. "The council thinks they understand war," he told them one night around a small fire. "They think they know what we are capable of. They are wrong." A young recruit named Soon asked, "Sergeant, what makes us different? Why are we winning when they have more of everything? Jin Ho poked the fire with a stick. Sparks flew into the night sky. They fight because someone told them to. We fight because we have to, because if we do not, our families die, our worlds burn, our people disappear. He looked at each young face. When you fight for something you love, you can do things that no one believes possible. Is that why we are winning? That is part of it, the other part is simpler. Jin Ho smiled grimly. They have never met an enemy who would rather die than surrender. When you face such an enemy, numbers do not matter. Technology does not matter. All that matters is will, and our will is stronger. The final push toward the system began on a cold morning in space. Every surviving human ship was called to join the assault. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. General spoke to all forces before the battle. 6 months ago, they killed 2.3 million of our people. They thought it would break us. They thought we would surrender. They were wrong. His voice was carried across thousands of ships. Today, we end this war, not with murder, not with revenge, but with victory, complete and total victory. When this is over, they will remember what they did. They will remember what we did in response, and they will never make the same mistake again. For our families, for humanity. Forward! The fleet moved as one, a wave of steel and fire heading toward the heart of the enemy. Commander watched them come on his scanners. He had gathered every loyal ship he could find, but it was not enough. He knew it was not enough. Still, he would fight. That was his duty. The battle for the system lasted 3 days. It was the bloodiest fight in galactic history. Both sides suffered terrible losses. Ships burned. Soldiers died. The space between planets became a graveyard of metal and bodies. But in the end, human determination proved stronger than council numbers. When the last council warship fell silent, General's fleet surrounded the council. His palace was within range of their guns. Colonel Wu, who had led the ground assault on the planetary defense stations, stood on the surface of the council. He looked up at the sky where human ships hung like dark stars. He remembered He remembered the little girl with 2 braids. He remembered everything. "It is over," he said quietly. "We won." But he felt no joy, only emptiness. Victory could not bring back the dead. It could only ensure they did not die in vain. General opened a channel to High Arbiter. "High Arbiter," he said, "your fleet is destroyed. Your allies have abandoned you. You have 2 choices: surrender and face justice, or refuse and watch your world burn." There was a long silence. Then his voice came through. It was weak, broken. I will surrender." Nodded slowly. "Then come to my ship, alone, and bring the records of who ordered the new massacre." He closed the channel and looked at the peaceful planet below. Millions of council civilians lived there. Families, children. They had done nothing wrong. "Hold fire," he ordered. "Secure all military positions, but do not harm civilians." Admiral Park appeared on his screen. "General, we could end this more quickly if we—" "No," his voice was firm. "We came to win a war, not to become what we fought against. The civilians are not our enemy." Park hesitated, then nodded. "Understood, General." Sat down heavily. He was tired, so tired. 6 months of war had taken everything from him, but it was almost over. "You wanted us to learn our place," he said to no one in particular. "We learned it. Our place is above you, not because we are stronger, but because we are better." He closed his eyes and waited for the enemy to come. The war was ending, but the real work was just beginning.